Ethan is defending his statement, and Hila's sitting there being like, well, nobody's perfect. So which is it? Was it a bad statement that Ethan said just because he was mentally exhausted after 5 hours of debating? Or is it a perfectly defensible statement that people are just lying about? Pick an argument and stick with it.
This is part of the web of subreddits that we discussed previously, but 18,000 likes. 18,000 likes, right? Ethan from H3 claims that, quote, "F***ing Arabs caused the conflict." Now,
that's not what you said.
Now, you guys that watched this 5-hour-long debate know that I was articulating myself, I think in that moment, quite clearly about what I meant. Let's see how they cut it together in this 1-minute clip.
The Arabs created a million Zionists because they're anti-Semitic. 900,000 Jews, approximately 700 to 900,000, were forced to become Zionists, not by choice, but because they were forced out. The vast majority went to Arabs.
Why was that?
I mean, this is something that Ethan will bring up again and again and again, where he says the conflict was caused by Arabs doing this ethnic cleansing, and the people that were cleansed became Zionists, and that's why we need an ethno-state, because the Arabs would do ethnic cleansing on us if we didn't have an ethno-state. However, like Arab states and this Jewish expulsion, this Jewish exodus of Arab states was caused by Zionism. Even the founding architects of Zionism knew that Jewish people in the area would be persecuted, and then they would be more attracted to go to Israel. And so when an ethno-state causes people to not like that ethno-state, and then that dislike of the ethno-state is used as a justification for the continuation of the ethno-state. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we're shitty people, and then people don't like us for being shitty, then we're justified in being shitty and treating them bad because they don't like us anymore. This is something that Ethan says a lot, and this is how he justifies Israel being an ethno-state, because the Arabs did pogroms, and if Israel ever dissolved its borders, then Palestinians are the same as these Arabs that did expulsions, and they would also do pogroms against the Jewish people in Israel.
Cut. What the cut was that? And then
Hasan is smiling because he's like, yep, I got the clip I needed.
I didn't even know what he was talking about, because I was speaking honestly and I was speaking passionately. And obviously throughout this whole conversation, we've both been using f***ing as a, it's common. Everybody does it in English, especially when you're like getting impassioned. You say this, that. It's like so obvious.
I knew in the moment you were using it as saying, like, obviously what I'm saying is the Arabs. But that being said, I knew in that moment that it was going to get clipped.
It didn't even occur to me.
That's why you have to regulate your anger in moments like that.
There's literally no.
Bro, the f***ing doesn't have anything to do with it. Like, sure, that might have been a bit of your racism rearing its ugly head even more, but you're still just saying that Arabs expelled all of the Jews. And then when you have this double standard where you're like, oh, it's not the Jews, it's not the Israelis, it's a small, like, far-right faction that is loyal to Netanyahu that's doing the. That's where your racism is coming from. That's your hypocrisy. And then also, like, the fact that if you follow this to its conclusion, if you follow Ethan's logic, he says the Arabs expelled the Jews from Arab states, and then what he does there is he brings that Arab expulsion and he applies it to Palestine. He says the Arabs expelled the Jews from Arab states. Then if Israel ever dissolved its borders and gave Palestinians one person, one vote with every Israeli, then there would be pogroms done against the Israelis because the Arabs expelled Jews. He's saying all Arabs are the same. Egyptian Arabs are the same as Syrian Arabs, are the same as Iraqi Arabs, are the same as Yemeni Arabs, is the same as Lebanese Arabs, are the same as Palestinian Arabs. And so all of these Arabs who share one monoculture, if they expelled the Jews before, if we as Israelis give them the opportunity, they'll expel the Jews again. That's why he's so adamant that they don't have a one person, one vote. I mean, that was a complete mask off moment the other day when he was debating Hasan, where he plays a Norman Finkelstein clip, and Norman says, from the river to the sea, one person, one vote, Palestinians will be free. And Ethan's like, well, I don't agree with the one person, one vote. And I don't think Norman Finkelstein really meant one person, one vote, which was shocking because that was the clip he played. That was the main thing Norman Finkelstein was adding into the phrase from the river to the sea. And Ethan disagreed with it. And he's like, Norman Finkelstein, even though he just said it, he didn't mean it. He doesn't believe that Palestinians should have equal rights as Jewish people in Israel because he is racist against Arabs. He thinks that Arabs expelled Jews before, and Arabs equal Palestinians. The Palestinians would expel Jews again if they ever got the opportunity to. That's why he doesn't support it.
I mean, I kind of agree with you just because I know you, and I think you're right that there's nothing you can do.
Not just that.
It's still, I think it's a valid criticism, though, that when talking about something that sensitive, that keeping your emotions in check and just speaking calmly and clearly without
to be honest with
using that kind of language, because it is going to get clipped like that.
This
He's
was
right.
5 hours of intense.
No, I get it.
Oh, it's 5 hours. You can't expect Ethan to not be racist if he talks for 5 hours. I mean, it's eventually going to come out. Shut the up. It was 5 hours of intense debate. Let's find the clip where Hasan says the Jews did the against Palestinians. Let's find that clip. Come on, Ethan, find the clip. It was 5 hours of intense debate. I'm sure we can find the part where Hasan is openly anti-Semitic against Jewish people. Come on, find the clip, Ethan. Play it.
Intense
I get it.
conversation. Like the fact that there's a moment clippable. I mean, kind of understand.
Hila Klein is just happy that Ethan did a clippable moment that was racist against Arabs. Just remember, she's like, I mean, do Palestinians learn at 2 years old how to kill Jews and how to hate America? Maybe. I mean, Hila Klein, Yoav Gallant is a really good guy. She's like, finally, my husband said the Arabs were like some of the clippable racist moments is finally on him now. Hila, that was at the beginning of your podcast. Hila, like Ethan Klein in 5 hours. The Arabs, Hila Klein in 10 minutes. Yoav Gallant is a really good guy.
But like if Hasan said the Jews, there's no way you would have dropped that.
Yeah, dude. Actually, so a good point from this guy.
Because it doesn't make. First of all, that's when. In what context does that make sense?
Well, if you.
In what? Oh my God! Wait, are we gonna see Ethan Klein coming to grips with his own hypocrisy here?
I don't know. Whatever.
The Arabs is a collection of a bunch of nations that all collectively kick the Jews out.
Okay, so if you say Israel is a representation of Jews, and they're doing it, you could say who's doing the Jews. That's what you could say if you view Israel as a representation of that ethnic group, and if you're willing to like flatten the actions of that country to be representative of every person of that ethnic group in agreeing to do like a horrific act. That's why when I talk about the Jewish exodus, it's like there are push factors or there are pull factors where Zionism was offering a better way of life. And there are push factors too, where Zionism did radicalize these countries. It did cause a war, which caused, like, in return, rise of right-wing governments that did scapegoat the Jews in a lot of times. I'm not going to say all Arabs were responsible for pogroming Jews and forcing them to become Zionists. No, I think a lot of it was due to Zionism, which is a fascist ideology. And in response, that led to other right-wing fascist ideologies bubbling up to resist it in these neighboring Arab states. So I'm not going to say it's all Arabs that did this. It's all Arabs that did this ethnic cleansing. There were a lot of different factors, and even the pogroms that did happen, you can't accuse all Arabs of doing.
Yeah, I know. No, I know.
If he said the Jews, what is he talking about?
Yeah, I guess more comparable would be the Israelis.
It would be, but I didn't even use it like that. It'd be more like the Jews are,
No, that wouldn't be comparable. Ethan didn't say the Yemeni or the Iraqis. He said the Arabs. That's an ethnic group. So it wouldn't be comparable. Like, what the fuck? These people are such ball coddlers. Dan's like, oh, yeah, I guess you're right, Ethan. It'd be more comparable if you said the opposite of what you said.
They're complicit or something like, because it's not like, I'm not saying the Arabs.
No, I know.
I know you're not saying that, but that's also how this is the world we live in.
Yeah.
Like it's unfortunately.
So I have two responses to that. One, I can't prevent this because these people are out and open liars, and they have an entire network of propaganda and disinformation. As you can see here, 18,000.
Ethan, your producers were like giving you some pushback on this, and instead of like listening to them, you're just like, these people are liars. They're lying about me.
No, I got you.
And second of all, I think there is a time to raise your voice and get passionate. And I think that was one of the times. And you'll see that the other clip that came
I'm
out.
saying you can't get passionate.
Yeah, we're not talking
but
about what you're actually talking about.
Yeah.
Just giving people that clip.
just uttering that phrase. I get it, but
I did not.
I also
honestly,
understand what you guys are saying, but like, nobody's perfect.
No, absolutely. And
Well, so what? Bro, pick a fucking lane. Oh my god. Ethan is defending his statement, and Hila's sitting there being like, well, nobody's perfect. So which is it? Was it a bad statement that Ethan said just because he was mentally exhausted after 5 hours of debating? First of all, it's more like 4.5 hours. Or is it a perfectly defensible statement that people are just lying about? Pick an argument and stick with it. Come on, guys.
again, me and Dan are saying we understand that he was heated in the moment, but we're just saying that in the moment we recognize that it's gonna get clipped.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I did too.
5
You can
hours, and
see
I
it
made
on
like-
Hasan's face.
Yeah.
I made like
did too.
one statement that they were able to clip in 5 hours. You know,
I guess that's a fairly good ratio.
Bro, what the fuck is happening? What the actual fuck is happening? Ethan finds one clip of a debate that he had and is like, oh, this is the only clip that they had. Dude, you're not like looking up all of the clips. You found one clip and you played one clip and now you're acting like that's the only clip? No! What? There's more clips of me that have been clipped out by fans about my reaction to this than the clip you played. What the what? Like, this is actually such this is so dumb. Oh my god, is this actually like the entire thing? I just want to find the part where Hila says, I'm not a terrorist. I want to find that part. Come on, Hila, I'm not a terrorist. I'm not a terrorist. All right, let's play this while the transcript's loading.
Also, you didn't pee the whole time. That was impressive.
That's the most.
If anyone says
impressive
you're on
thing.
drugs, the fact that you didn't pee for 5 hours, I think that proves it alone.
people say every time I go to the bathroom, I'm doing coke. Apparently,
Well, it just makes you use the bathroom more.
You've never once shared? It's not up.
I get it from you, Dan. What do you mean? You're my supplier.
Yeah, take that title away from me. That's what the snark says. I'm Ethan's supplier.
What?
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, no. Hila's not a terrorist. Somebody who's like, I want to join the Houthis so that I can, or I want to join Hamas so I can like, I'm a cafe. That's someone who's like, yeah, and they're like, yeah, I'm a terrorist. I want to be a terrorist. I am a terrorist. You know what I mean? Could you?
Bro, once again, this is racist. Saying that like suicide bomb, that's a terrorist move, but drone bombing, that's not a terrorist move. That's just racism. That's yeah, that's fucking racism. So now it's because of the style of warfare that they did. Keep in mind, Hila said that she had a desk job and then she wanted to move into a West Bank job, and that was more exciting. And then she was even bored in that West Bank job where she was still a secretary, and she wanted to go out on a raid, and then she did a raid where they kidnapped people. So also comparing her to Rashid al-Haddad, who is literally just like a social media influencer, is f***ing insane. That's actually insane. What, you're gonna say that Rashid al-Haddad strapped his suicide vest on and bombed a cafe?
argue that like the IDF commits acts of terror? Yeah. You know what I mean? For sure. But that's why it says it's more complicated, because it's not like you can't just say, oh, they're a terror org, because it's mandatory conscription, and the vast majority.
You can't say it's a terror org because it's mandatory conscription. Oh, I didn't realize that terror organizations were only volunteer based. It's volunteer only, guys. What are we talking about? So, first of all, Hila said if she didn't enjoy her time in the IDF, she would find a way to get out of it. So yeah, you can find ways to get out of it. It's not like they literally put a gun to your head and are like, here, put on this uniform and sit down behind a desk, otherwise we're going to kill you and your entire family. That's not true whatsoever. There are countless people every year that don't want to join the IDF because they're like not into it. They're like losers or shit like that. And they, I don't know, or they object to it on moral grounds, which more and more people are doing. Oh, but it's mandatory conscription, so they're not a terror org.
people involved are not doing combat. So
Oh, and there are people involved that are not doing combat. Maybe just like there are people involved in Hamas that are not doing combat, or people involved in Hezbollah that are not doing combat, or people involved in the Houthis organization that are not doing combat. But according to Ethan, all of those people are valid military targets anyway, so they're valid military targets. They're a terrorist organization.
even if you want to say like the people in the IDF are terrorists, it doesn't really hold up to scrutiny.
Why?
Because of what I said.
Because of what you said, because it's mandatory and there are people involved that aren't like actively in the military. I love, dude, Ethan's such a fucking bitch. He's such a cowardly bitch. Oh my God, guys. In his conversation with Hasan, he's like, yeah, my wife is a terrorist. Can we move on? In the conversation, when he's getting actively called out for it, he says, okay, I concede the point. I concede. The IDF is a terrorist group and my wife was a terrorist. Can we move on from this? Then, the next day, on his podcast, when he's not getting called out for this shit, he's like, no, the IDF isn't a terrorist group because it's mandatory and they only drone strike, and there are some members of the IDF that aren't actively involved in military roles. Bro, that literally describes every terrorist organization you can think of. Like, you think people aren't socially pressured to join the Houthis? You think people aren't socially pressured to join Hamas? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Israel defines Hamas as anyone who's a male that's like 12 years old or older. And Ethan is going to sit there and be like, the IDF is mandatory, so it's not a terrorist org. Bro, this guy is so far gone. Holy shit. But guys, consider signing up for memberships. It helps me out, helps my editors out. Only $1 a month, so it's really not a big deal. Your name can be green. That will be cool. And thanks for watching, everyone.